It's a new year. Do you have a plan for your ministry? Do you have a hope that the Lord is going to show up in a new way? Are you excited? Or are you just going to follow a program? In this episode of What Catholic Youth Ministry Looks Like, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a plan for the new year. We're going to talk about how you seek the will of the Lord and how you can strategically put it into practice and into play. My name is Brandon Morell, also known as The Symbol, and this is What Catholic Youth Ministry Looks Like, where I talk about a framework that I call the 5 M's of ministry. It's the message, the music, the meeting space, the members, and the mission territory. And how do we evaluate all those things to make sure we have a ministry that's lively and thriving and growing and actually encountering and meeting young people with the gospel of Jesus Christ and bringing them to his church, to him?
This is what Catholic Youth Ministry looks like.
Exploring the 5 M's of ministry.
With Brandon Morell, also known as a symbol.
First thing you want to do, I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide, right? So first thing you want to do is you want to intentionally seek the will of the Lord. You want to think about what it is that he wants for your ministry this year. And you might have particular times throughout the year in which you do this. Some people do this during the summertime before the new school year. You might do this at the start of the new year in January. I don't know what time it is for you that you feel like, hey, God, I need to figure out what it is that you want. For me, I do it intentionally for myself in January. And usually I do it leading into the summer for the following school year for the ministry that I'm a part of. A lot of things what I do is as I'm going to mass, as I'm going to daily prayer, for me, I do Lectio Divinas a lot. That's kind of my daily prayer thing. I'm seeing like, hey, God, is there a particular word? Is there a particular phrase? Is there a particular Bible character that you're drawing me to? He's showing up in my conversations with friends. He's showing up as I hear things that I watch on TV or songs that I listen to. It's like directing me to a particular thing. Like I noticed this and I might take some time to discern that, right? Like, I remember at a while, there was a point where I was like, okay, we're going to go back and look at the Moses story. And I went back, Exodus. I went back, Deuteronomy. I went through all of that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to look at this Bible character. There was a time when I was like Noah, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to reread the Noah's Ark story. And that's going to be for my ministry. There was a time where I was this 3-word phrase, inspired, inclusive, influential, based on Acts chapter 2. First, they were inspired by the Holy Spirit. Then they were inclusive. They brought everybody to the table. Then they influenced other people together as they grew the church, right? And I use this as our ministry thing. Now, any basic psychologist, anyone, they'll tell you that we need repetition. Elementary school teachers tell you kids need repetition. Parents know that your kids need repetition. You got to say it over and over and over again. And sometimes having a phrase like it helps do that. In fact, our church knows this. That's why we've had different times, right? We're coming out of the year of hope, right? We have Eucharistic revival. There's certain moments, certain phrases, certain things that we realize as a church at large, this is something we're going to lean into. Now, good. That's a good place to start. It's a good place to start seeking his will from. Then I want you to think about your ministry. Then I want you to think about your teens. Then I want you to think about your volunteers. I want you to think about your parents. I want you to think about the people that are connected specifically. What do they need? Maybe, okay, if we want to go back to the year of hope, is there something specific when it comes to hope that they need? And start praying and discerning that. And give yourself a timeline. Okay, I'm going to do this. Now, one thing I particularly do when I start getting close to the moment where I'm going to make a decision about, okay, God, I think this is what it is that you have for me. I particularly do a fast. So there's something about fasting, abstaining from something. Now, our church talks about like usually in Lent or Friday fasts, right? But fasting has been a practice forever. It's a time where I'm going to turn away from the world. And this is how I like to look at this, right? I'm going to turn away from the world. That's what I do when I fast. And then when I pray, I'm going to turn towards God. So I'm going to turn away from the world. Sometimes it's turning away from something food related, right? I'm going to fast from this thing, right? And then pray. I'm going to choose a particular prayer or devotion that I'm going to lean into for this time, right? Do that. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's 21 days. Maybe it's a month. Maybe it's the entire summer. I don't know what it is, but I want you to discern what that is, what God is calling for you in your ministry, right? Now what that's going to do is it's going to give you a theme. It's going to give you a word. It's going to give you a phrase. It's going to give you something for the whole year, right? Now you have that. That's going to ground you. Now I want you to look at strategically the calendar. Right. Sounds so simple, right? The calendar. When do you usually meet? Wednesday nights, Friday nights, Saturday afternoons. When do you gather with your young people? Maybe you're starting a ministry and you're like, man, I don't know when we are, and I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, I want you to look at the calendar, regardless. I want you to look at first the parish, the church calendar, right? Or maybe some people stumble onto this. It's the school calendar, right? Maybe you're starting a student ministry or campus ministry. Okay, cool. Look at the calendar. What are the spaces that are available, right? Where are we going to gather? How are we going to do this? When? Okay, what does that look like? How can it be consistent? Boom. All right, cool. Now I want you to look at, if this is a youth ministry, right? Hey, their lives revolve around the school calendar for the most part. When are different holidays? When are different breaks? When are they going to have half days? And depending on what community you live in, maybe you want to look at the public school calendar, right? I'm in New York City, so I look at the DOE calendar. I look at all those days off, right? Then if you particularly have Catholic schools connected, I want you to look at those calendars and be like, okay, am I going to compete with a particular prom or a particular event? Am I going to compete with some fundraiser or something, right? Or not only compete, because sometimes what you want to do in your ministry is you want to accompany. Maybe I'm going to do something attached to another thing, but I want you to look at that calendar. Now I want you to look at that and then compare it to this word that you had for the year, right? It's very clear, very simple. Now I want you to try to create something from there. And there's going to be certain moments throughout the year you're going to have to adjust. That just is what it is, right? If you're so locked in that you don't trust that the Holy Spirit can show up any moment along the way, then you're going to miss out. Or your kids are going to miss out, especially on some new graces that God may be wanting to give to that ministry. So have that. I want to pause for a brief moment to let you know that this series was brought to you and it was produced by Kari Films. Kari Films is a Catholic media production company whose mission is to capture the beauty of the Catholic faith. They do this through capturing live events. They do this through podcasts, testimonials, music videos, and more. You can find out more about them in the description below. Now let's get back to it. Now, next step, I want you to look at the liturgical calendar. Sounds simple, right? The beauty of our Catholic faith is we have different times of the year where we are leaning into different things, right? In ordinary time, we're leaning into certain things. In Lent, we're leaning into certain things. In Easter, during Pentecost, during Advent, Christmas, all these are seasons and these are things that, okay? Now, I want you to think about themes in those seasons and see how does it connect to whatever theme you have overarching for the year, whatever scripture passage, maybe it's that, whatever Bible character. And I guarantee you, our faith is so rich that in that one passage or that one word, you'll find a connection all throughout those things. And that's what you're going to do it's going to be your topics. That's how you're going to develop. Now, remember, I said the 5 M's of ministry, right? From that is going to help you develop your messages. Yeah, what do they need to know, right? So in Advent, obviously you're going to be talking about the incarnation. You're going to talk about God preparing your hearts for that season, right? And how does God come? Okay, how do you connect whatever your thing is to that theme? At the start of the school year, you might be thinking about maybe it's not necessarily something specifically liturgical, but maybe something seasonal that you know that your families are dealing with. So you're going to take that word and be like, how does this word relate to this reality that they're dealing with? As you're approaching summer, you're going to see the same thing. And throughout the school year, as you connect with kids, they're going to share something with you. They're going to share what's happening in their friends. They're going to share what's happening on their sports team. They're going to share popular trends on social media with you. And I want you to take that and now compare it against, again, your word. You should have a kind of regular rhythm of always like discerning for your week and for your time. Like, God, what are you saying through all of this? And hey, it's not a magic trick. Let me make sure I say that. Like, bro, your word, it's not like abracadabra magic. I say this word and all of a sudden everybody receives Jesus and what the Holy... No. It's just something to ground you so that you have a strategic plan, right? Then I want you to think and make sure that there's healthy balance in your account. So remember I said this is about your messaging, right? Now there's another thing I call the meeting space, and that the actual physical space that you gather in. And the different spaces you gather in can basically figure out, or and not figure out, it'll prepare the way in which certain messages land. So, for example, you're not going to have a game night in the church chapel. It's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to work. I mean, I know, especially like during like COVID times, there was a moment where we were just using any space where we can socially distance. But game night in the chapel, I'm going to say 99.5, maybe 0.9% game night is not going to work there, right? Prayer night probably will work there, right? Having chairs in rows for something are going to help. Having chairs in a round will help for something. Having no chairs will help for something. The colors you use, the lights you use, right? Even our liturgical calendar knows this. We have purple in seasons and green and gold and red for other things. And they all symbolize different things. So remember, you have your message, which is going to be rooted in this thing that you thought about for the year, you prayed about for the year. Now think of your meeting space and how maybe there's certain times because of what's happening, different events, your youth ministry is going to have to meet in different spaces. Don't make it difficult for yourself by saying like, hey, I want to do a prayer night in the gym. Kids are going to want to play basketball and they're going to be distracted. Unless you really have a strategic way of blocking out lights and centering them in. Or maybe you have kids that are very well formed and maybe they, as soon as the monstrance shows up, they're going to know I'm going to pray and be with Jesus. Okay, maybe. More than likely, you're going to need to do that. Now, you're also going to, in the process, you have to evaluate, are you mostly a middle school ministry? Or are you mostly a high school ministry? You got to do those things. So there's certain things, if you don't know, I'm a part of this organization called Young Life, and we call these club nights and campaigner nights. I'm going to make it real simple for you. A club night is a social night. It's a party with a purpose, right? It's more fun. It's interactive, builds, and you might have some, you're going to have a message. You're going to have something that brings them together. And we have a specific style and how we do it, but I'm giving this to you for you. You discern what's your social thing, what that's going to look like. Okay. Then you have what we call campaigner night. For us as Catholics, we would call that like a deeper catechetical, more catechesis night. We're going to give you some more prayer, some more things like that, right? So now, when you look at your space, look at your meeting space, think about what nights are more social or what times that you gather are going to be more social and what times are going to be more like deeper teaching or deeper prayer, etc. And let that evaluate throughout that. Hey, I know some of y'all waiting. Y'all like, hey, you've been talking about this 5 M's of ministry thing. When is that book coming? Well, in the meanwhile, while we're still working on that, you can head over to Amazon. You can get this 30-day devotional based on my song, Last Words, Lift My Hands. It's 30 days of complete surrender. This is good for young adults. This is good for your leaders. This is good for people that you want to call into a deeper life of prayer and surrender with God. And at the same time, you can go, and as you want to teach about the Holy Spirit, I made this little character named Fuego Dove, and this is the first of a series of comics that I'll be releasing about how he shows up in everyday life. So yeah, y'all can go get that. That helps support the ministry, and hopefully it supports and helps you in your day-to-day ministry life. Now let's get back to the conversation. Now, in that process, as you do this, you have a message, you have something, this is all put together, and you know you have somewhat of a calendar. And again, it's going to adapt throughout the year. Now I want you to think about your current, like, how you're going to execute this. Because depending on how many people are in your ministry, how many young people you're serving, right? You're going to need people to do this. So first, you're going to need to think, what I call the mission territory. You're going to think about how many kids, how do you want to grow this year? There are certain years and certain seasons where you want to cast the net wider, meaning you want more young people to come. And there's other seasons where you want to go deeper. You want the people that are already there to now have a deeper formation of their faith, a deeper relationship with Jesus, a deeper like practice that they know how to walk with him, right? So discern with that. And you're probably thinking about this as you think about your word for the year, but I want you to think about that a little bit more, right? So your mission territory, and think about like, what do the numbers look like? How do you want to grow? Now, numbers aren't everything, I'm not saying, hey, we are currently 20 kids, we want to get 100 kids. We're currently 5, we want to get 10. We're currently 12, and we just want to go deeper with that 12. I don't know. We're 100, and we want to grow to 300. I don't know what your current ministry is. And it's not all about that. But by setting a benchmark, what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself some level of accountability. I have this thing that I've learned in a framework from Young Life is, again, I told you club and campaigner nights. Typically, your social nights are going to be more well attended than the nights where you go deeper, depending on the context. But typically, that's usually what happens, right? And then I would hope that the amount of kids that you meet and interact with are even more than that. So how many kids did you meet at the school? How many kids did you hang out and say what's up to after mass? How many kids did you, right? I want you to evaluate and think like, okay, this is a target of how many kids I want to meet. This is how many kids I would ideally like to have at social nights. Ideally, I would have at like our deeper like catechetical nights. Okay. Just set a goal. I'm not saying you got to hold yourself harshly, but set a goal and make it reasonable, right? Be like, okay, we're this. If we grew, it would be this. And then whatever that is, I want you to add like a little bit more than that. So it stretches you to grow a little bit, right? So that's your mission. Then I want you to think about your members. Who are in order to reach those goals, in order to like deliver this properly, who are the people you need? Do you need a new music ministry? Are you realizing there are more young men showing up and you need more young adult male leaders? And once you do that, it's going to make you, one, for your own prayer life. Now you get to pray and be like, man, in order for us to be effective, we need 3 young adult male leaders. Let's just say, as an example. Or maybe you need a married couple because you realize the kids need and they're searching for a relationship and they need someone to model that. Okay, cool. I want you to pray about, for your team, who do you need? Like this is no different than how basketball teams work. This is no different than how baseball teams, football teams, right? Your ministry team has a gap that's missing. What would it take to fill that gap? Now, I'm not saying the Lord can't work, right? The Lord can work and maybe he'll work supernaturally above and beyond that. But strategically, you might need someone that's a little bit more administrative, can handle paperwork. Maybe you need someone who is just good at building relationships with young people. Maybe you need activators, people that are going to clean up, set up, break down chairs, do that sort of thing for you. I don't know. Maybe you need greeters at the door. I don't know. I want you to set a benchmark. Man, we need people with this natural thing. Now, by you thinking and discerning that, it's going to give you a clear guideline to go, hey, I know this is in the back of my mind. Every time I pray, I'm really asking the Lord for this. Again, a practice I have. I've learned this. Again, it's a Young Life thing. Matthew 9:38, right? The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. I literally have an alarm at my phone in the morning at 9:38 a.m. that I take 30 seconds to pray, Lord, send me laborers. Lord, send me people that will work alongside me in this mission field, that will work alongside me in this ministry. So you're going to pray. And then if you have specific things you're praying for, you can say whatever the things I just said. That's for your members. See how that works? You have a message. You have a mission. You have figured out how you're going to do that. You have members. How are you going to do all that stuff? So you thought of the mission territory, right? You thought all those things, right? You have meeting space. You've thought about how that's all going to work, right? You have a plan. And now strategically throughout your year, you can evaluate, where are we with this? Was I unrealistic in these goals? Was this really my ego talking? Was it the movie I watched that inspired me to do this? Or was this really your will, Lord? And I want you strategically to have that throughout the year so that you can continuously, I know that is difficult. I know that sometimes discerning the will of the Lord is hard. I know in some places you may be the only one without a team. I know maybe you have a team that has not been stepping up to the plate. And even what I said about that 9:38 prayer call, maybe you don't need new members. Maybe you just need the people that have been around for a while to step up. Maybe maybe there's somebody you realize that's been slacking and you realize, you know what? I need to take this person, grab a coffee, go grab dinner with them. I remember there was one young person, a young adult leader that was messing up. They were out of pocket. They were not serving well. They had a bad attitude and they were a college student And I had to go meet them at their college, pick them up like, hey, I'm gonna pick you up, get in the car. What's going on? Outside of our normal ministry time, I dedicated time to this young person, right? As other times I've had to do that, I've spent 2-3 hours with older adult volunteers. And I know, trust me, if you work in ministry, sometimes there are hours that are uncounted for. And you're like, man, like, it can be exhausting. But if you have this plan, you can really think about how God is going to move. And maybe your ministry is meant to reach 300, 500, 1,000 kids. I don't know. Maybe your ministry is meant to reach 15, but those 15 are going to be 15 leaders that eventually are going to be leaders in dioceses, and they're going to be priests, and they're going to be married husbands and wives are going to lead their families well. But you serving that 15 or you serving that 5 is going to be well worth it, because the Lord is going to look at you and say, well done, my good and faithful servant, because you sought my will for your ministry calendar and you executed it throughout the year. If you want more help in any way, shape, or form on doing this sort of thing, I'm going to encourage you, reach out to me, comment on this video. If any of this you feel like was helpful, is any of this that you feel like I can dive into deeper in other videos? Great. If you've never seen any of these, I want you to go back, watch. I constantly am looking at these different areas, the messages. How can we be better with that? I didn't even name the music in this episode, right? Because there's certain times maybe you want to change your music even throughout the year. If you're in Lent, maybe you intentionally want the kids to feel it. Maybe they're ready for that, right? And so you want a little bit more somber thing for that. Maybe it's Easter, so you want them to feel the joy of that, right? You can do it. But I want it to be intentional. I don't want it to be just, we did this last year, we did this year before, we did this because the booklet said that. No. I want you as the leader to discern what God has for your young people, for your ministry, for your leaders, for your parish community, for your school, for your families, for wherever it is that you are. And if you want more of this, again, you can reach out, you can comment. You can go to my website, bethesymbol.com. You can sign up for the email list. You can reach out to me on social media. I'm one of those people, I really try to interact and respond to people. I think that we are a relational humans, that we are a relational church, that God in himself is a relationship of 3 persons. And so the best way, I feel like these videos are kind of step 1 to kind of get the gears turning. But I encourage you to do all those things. And like I said before, man, I'm a part of this organization, Young Life. If you are local, one of my roles here is helping us start new clubs and new things and whatever. We can talk about it there. If you're someone distant and you just want to talk about the 5 M's of ministry, reach out, send me an email. Let's dialogue so that we can reach more young people for Jesus, that more people can have an encounter with the risen Lord Jesus, that they can first meet him and then they can grow and actually live out the purpose that they have, that he has for them. Thank y'all for watching. If you would like to donate you can see my Young Life giving link below. All that stuff. We'll connect, man. Appreciate y'all for watching. Let me know what y'all want to see next. God bless y'all. Peace.